All right, Florida Panther fans. I don't want to step on Stu's intro because I know he's raring to go. No, it's
Yeah,
no. All right, so you guys can by the title you see on the screen we've got Randy Moller. Absolutely, just stoked that you can join us today, man. I really appreciate you being able to take time out of your day and hang out with us and answer some questions because this fan base is. This has been a year. This has been a year because you can't grasp onto any. Yeah, exactly what Stu's doing.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, thanks for having me on, guys. It's always a pleasure. I love me. I love talking hockey. I love talking Panthers hockey. So let's get going.
Gotcha. All right.
This channel's really lucky, and we're honored to have you because. I mean, you're probably the best color analyst in friggin' NHL broadcast of all the teams out there. And, I'll just I want to mention something that you said. I think it was you because I was trying to capture in my mind about the players coasting. Didn't you make a comment about at one point in time during maybe
I did a
game?
Yeah, I did a I think it was it? Yeah, I broke down some plays where we're struggling a little bit getting that second and possibly third shot when the puck carrier is maybe driving wide and going and taking a shot. And then I showed a couple of the other players not driving towards the net.
Right.
Now, I don't want to say that happens all the time. But it just seems like, and it's not just the Panthers. I watch a lot of hockey games, and when different analysts break stuff down, where the game is so fast, and you have to because the game is fast, you have to play the game fast, and that means not very often you're either standing still or you're coasting.
Right.
You've got to drive to the net. You've got to drive to retrieve the puck in the corner after the goalie makes a save and the deflection goes off into the corner. You have to drive there. And so if you're standing still a lot of times, that's not good. And that's why I pointed out a couple of examples of that. When we're like any other team, and I just love this Panther team. When they are driving and they are desperate and they are determined and focused, we've seen it.
Yep.
And they just go. And when that game against Chicago, when they got down, unfortunately, 2-0, then you could see them coming. They couldn't make a pass and but then all of a sudden they started coming. And when they come in waves, the talent and the speed that the Panthers possess really overwhelms the opponent. And you can see it. You guys watch and you see that. The same thing last game. They just were coming in waves and that. Now, I will say too, guys, that's difficult to do 100% of the time. So you'll get the average fan saying, well, why don't they do that all the time? Well, I mean, do we all run as fast as we can to the post office so we know our checks got in there? I mean, a lot of times we will, but a lot of times we'll walk, I mean, it's so, but when they do, and that's why it's so encouraging with this team, that the way they built this team, and especially with the defense, what are they, third in the NHL with 38, 39 goals or whatever it is. They're so involved in the play with that second wave, that third wave. And like I explained, in one of my play cents on Bally Sports before the game, how difficult it is for defenses like the opposition to defend that.
Right.
You're on the back check, okay? You're looking around and you're going to pick up your check, which usually is one of the other forwards that doesn't have the puck, correct?
Right.
Well, all of a sudden you've got one or two defensemen that are coming in. You saw the beautiful goal that Eric Stahl to Mark Stahl. That was a perfect example right there. Nobody's picking up Mark Stahl, and he just waltzed right down Main Street and takes a return pass from his brother and wide open net. That's why it's so encouraging. But I wanted the fans to understand and point that out, that if you are driving towards the net, then you're going to make things happen in a positive way. If you're holding back, and the Panthers, like any team, every team's guilty of it. Every team's guilty of it.
Well, it's perfect. It was the perfect, and Stu didn't notice, but that was the perfect lead-in to my first question, because this involves not just the Panthers, this is the fans, and because there's all these different opinions. Two different things. When a team comes out flat, not ready to go, or okay, you played 2 bad periods, and now we all say, oh well, the coach must have ripped them in the dressing room after the second intermission. So how much of it, because there's such a wild variation of the fans' opinions. I've got people tell me coaching doesn't matter whatsoever, and then we've got people that blame the coach completely 100%. In terms of the players coming out and being just ready to go, whether it be at the beginning of a game or beginning of a period, how much of that is the players on themselves and how much of that is the coach?
Well, I don't want to dissect this and that. I have to, when I'm analyzing the games, I've got to determine is what you call a flat start, like the team is flat. And for me, a lot of times, it's not the effort. It's not the enthusiasm. It's not the preparedness per se. But when your team, and we talk about the Panthers.
Yeah.
When they're not executing guys and they can't make the first pass, or it's off the mark, and then the second pass hitting somebody at full flight and it's off, or there's coverage, everybody stops. And what happens, guys, it looks like the Panthers aren't working.
Right.
But a lot of times, guys, it's not that for a lack of effort. It's execution. If they don't get that first pass and then the second pass and hitting Verhaeghe coming wide or Duclair coming wide, and if that pass is off and you lose control of the puck or possession of the puck, everything just stops.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I want to make sure that I make that point. But I'm going to answer your question. The coaches prepare these players, systems wise and matchups and tendencies and that's their job. That's their job. But it's the players that have to take it upon themselves to make sure that they're ready and they're focused. And a lot of times, guys, I think and we've seen it with the Panthers have lulls in their play. Right. It's not for a lack of they're just saying, to hell with it. I'm just going to coast around. I don't feel good today or what. No, it's either they're too wound up and they can't make a play. You remember that game in Chicago or the game against Chicago? And you remember Paul Maurice's comments after the second period? He said, hey, I could have gone in there and just ripped them or whatever. I went in there because this is how I felt. And he told us, Goldie and that after. He said, guys, just relax.
Yeah.
Take the play, trust yourself, trust your teammates, and go out and execute, and we're going to win the hockey game. Bang, he walks out the door. Guess what happened? They come back and they win the hockey game. So I think a lot of times if teams are so wound up, then know the importance of the game. That's where the leadership and the guys like Barkov and Tkachuk and these guys that have been around a while, and the Ekblads, that everybody just needs to relax, trust each other. And trust is a big thing, guys, because if you don't trust your teammates, all that does is now you start running around trying to cover up somebody else, and then somebody else runs over to cover that up, and next thing you know,
it's a mess.
It looks like the Moller kids at Toys R Us or whatever. Everybody's running all over the place.
It's a game of individuals instead of a team game.
That's it. It's trust but when the Panthers have that sync and they're really working together and moving the puck and getting the speed and generating the speed, and that it is fun to watch, and it's fun to watch.
Last year, how many times, Eric, we commented about wave after wave after wave, 4 goals, 5 goals, 6 goals at ease.
Yeah.
So we have a different style now.
Well,
and I think in that Winnipeg game, once we tied it up, there was a period, and Goldie even mentioned it, like the Panthers were cooking, and it's just unfortunate that we couldn't bury. Declare had a shot. I mean, there were a couple of
I've never, and that, to your point, Stu, I've never had a year of broadcasting. What is this? 27 years, 26 years I've been broadcasting, whatever it is, where the Panthers running into red hot goaltenders, red hot backup goaltenders.
Yeah.
Third string goaltenders. I've never seen that before. And so when we're preparing for the game and, we're talking to the other broadcasters and that, okay, who's your goaltender? To me, it doesn't matter if it's Ken Dryden or the backup, which nobody knew who the backup was in Montreal that time because he never played.
Right.
That I never take it for granted anymore because I've never seen this season backup goaltenders play so well against the Panthers. I can't figure it out. It's one of those things that I just go, oh my goodness, I'll turn in a commercial break to Goldie and I go, oh, here we go again.
Yeah.
Backup goaltender and that. I mean, hey, that's what makes it exciting. And, no disrespect to the backup goaltenders out there and that. But I mean, it'd be like me, a stay-at-home 6 defenseman or whatever, going out there and scoring 4 goals against the Montreal Canadiens on a game. Everybody's going to go, what?
Right. Well, it worked in reverse for us because I'm sure there were a few people that were going, who the hell is Alex Lyon and why can't we score on him? you know?
Yeah. There's a reason these guys are in the NHL. They're all talented. Yeah. They all got an amazing skill level. Even the goaltenders, whatever. They're not plucking these guys out of the beer league and someplace in Flin Flon, Manitoba. I mean, these guys they deserve to be in the league, and that I just think it's just ironic and kind of it's almost funny how many times we've had the battle in games against a goalie we lead the league in shots. We lead the league in shot attempts. We lead the league in grade A scoring chances, which is basically in the slot. And here we sit, and we're in a battle for a playoff spot. And it's just I've never seen it. Last year, everything went in. Right, everything was right. Got the breaks. You put in your backup goaltender, or you put in your starting goaltender, we're going to get 5 on you. You put in your backup goaltender, we're going to get 7 on you.
Yeah.
That was last year. This year, it's been a whole different story. And it's tough to really figure out or whatever. But as long as, and I've said this, as long as the team continues to work their tails off and do the right things mentally and that, then I don't have a problem. Keep shooting the puck. Sooner or later, it's going to go in.
Right. Yeah. So, I want to ask you about a couple of players specifically. First one is Luosterainen, and there's we have a little bit of money to play with during the off season, and Zito was kind of mentioned holes, players, with the money that we were missing. Even if we don't make the playoffs. If Luosterainen can continue to play this way up top, is that going to solidify that top 6? And anybody we go after, you think will be a bottom 6 guy, or do you think he's got it in him to take that top 6 role? Because I'm looking at his stats, and he's actually, based on where Verhaeghe was and where Luosterainen is at the same time, Luosterainen is actually trending to be better than Verhaeghe.
Yeah.
And he's a better all-around player.
He's really impressed this year. I really like Luosterainen's game. He's such a smart player. These Finns are unbelievable. These Finnish players, they're so smart. And I think that he just like Lundell, they learn from how Alexander Barkov plays the game, the way he positions himself. And you watch Barkov, and very rarely is he on the wrong side of the puck, or he turns the wrong way without, in his own zone. And these players that will learn from him. And I think Luosterainen is really impressed me this year. He's taken another step, and good on him that he's having a career year offensively, because you remember even last year when the Panthers were filling the net in goals, there was long stretches where Loisty, he did not score or whatever. And I think that was frustrating for him, but nice to see him playing the way he is now and getting an opportunity. That's the other thing too. You get put into a position to succeed. And I've always, that's the hill that I'll always die on is players. You look at different players, how their careers go, and some just, kind of fizzle out and others go. It's a lot of times if you're not put in a position, first you got to be put in a position to succeed. You can't be playing the fourth line and playing 6 minutes a night.
Right.
And then it's up to the player to grasp that opportunity and take it. And when you put those two together, you come up with a pretty good hockey player. And that's Loisterainen's been that way.
And that, and then Stu, I'll give you the mic. That you led right into the second player, which was actually Lundell. I'm curious what your thoughts are with him. I'm old guy, so I kind of, and I've always been a coach, so I kind of view like I get my pet players, right? And unfortunately for them, being my pet player means I'm going to bitch about you until you do really well, because that's just how I coach. And I haven't been thrilled with Lundell this year. My concern, or my thought anyway, is I'd like to see him, and I know he's a young guy, so it should happen, but I would personally like to see him get into the gym over the summer, maybe add 10 pounds, because it just seems to me like he gets knocked off the puck too easy, and it distracts from the rest of his game, which seems ready to go, but he's got to be able to keep the puck.
Yeah. You know what? I don't think, I agree. He's a young player. He's trying to get stronger. He shows flashes that he's going to be a borderline superstar in the league. He's only 21 years old, but there's no doubt that he has to continue to get stronger, put some more weight on, and that. I think Lundell is really focused on his overall game and leaning towards defense.
Right.
And that, because look at the way the team is built. If Anton Lundell doesn't score for 10 games, it's not going to kill you or whatever, because there's lots of offense in that. I think he's concentrating on his defensive game. His offensive game, we've seen flashes of it. It will come. It will come. He's only 21 years old, and he's going to get stronger. But he's another one. What a smart player he is, and how he plays and that. I'd like to see him jump a little bit more. Do you guys notice this? I'm going to put it into question. So you'll see Anton Lundell play strong defensively with a normal shift 5-on-5. You see how he jumps when he plays with Barkov when they're shorthanded?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He starts going and that. Yeah, so you see flashes of it in that. I think he just wants to be known that he's very responsible defensively and that. So
Maurice loves him. Maurice has always been a veteran player coach, and he definitely has confidence in both of those guys.
Yep.
So let's address the big elephant in the room, because Eric and I spent this morning doing the recap of the Winnipeg game, and we were going over the schedules. The Islanders have a big road trip in the West Coast, and we're 3 points behind with a game in hand. Obviously, we got to take care of our business. We got to win the games like Thursday night Canadians. I mean, no doubt we got to win those games, but what do you think is going to get it done for us? Now, I will preface by saying Billy Lindsay's told me that he thinks 93 points is going to do it. I don't, last year it was 100, right?
I think the Panthers at a minimum have to go 11-4. Yeah. The way Pittsburgh's playing now, and the Islanders, they stubbed their toe their last game, but they're playing pretty good. And that, I think the Panthers, they got 15 games left. They got to go 11-4.
Right. Yeah.
Is it difficult? Yeah, obviously it's difficult. Anybody that goes 11-4 in a 15-game stretch, wow, you're on a hot streak. And that I like the way the Panthers understand and realize what the position that they're in. They're not going in with blinders on. They understand what the position in every game is a playoff game. They have to, and they have to approach that. And that I think it's unrealistic, guys, though, to think that the Panthers are going to come out every game and score 7 goals, and go 15-0 and score every time on their power play, and that everybody just needs to relax.
Right.
They put themselves in this position. They understand the position that they're in, and that, but they have to go out and execute. And guess what? If they win 2-1 against Montreal on Thursday,
then nobody looks at the goal score. They look at the W's. But Randy, we got to stop. We got to stop getting down 2 goals, in the first period, and then have to do the comeback stuff.
That's just it. There's no doubt they got to get off the better starts and play with the lead. And that there's no doubt. There's no doubt that they're in that. But I think you see social media and that's why I think it's great, because fans are engaged and everybody can have their opinion in that. But for somebody to put out there on social media that we should beat Montreal 9-0 on Thursday night, I got news for you. That ain't gonna happen.
It ain't gonna happen.
Yeah. And that, but you just hope that the team comes out and ready to go. And that Bob has been sensational for the Panthers. My goodness, where would they be without him? He's been so good, and he understands situation, and he's taken days off now. He's really resting because I don't know, but I'm pretty sure they whispered in his ear and said, Bob, unless something outrageous happens here, guess what? You're playing every game.
You're playing every game.
Mentally, get ready. Physically, we don't want you to be, if a game and a practice day and another game or another 2, or you're playing 3 and 4 nights, you're not practicing. You're staying off the ice, getting yourself, your body ready to go and that. And I like that. I think he's excited about it.
Yeah, no, Stu and I are both you always want to make the playoffs, but right now, like if this team, if we go 11-4 and then miss by a point, the frustration is that we're not afraid of Boston over here. Not in this room. You know what I mean? And it was like a month ago when somebody asked me, well, if the Panthers made the playoffs, do I think they could do any damage? I said, well, they'd have to, because they're going to have to go like 25-8 the rest of the way to make it. So if they actually do that, if they get in, I'm not afraid of Boston. I'll leave it at that.
I'm not afraid of Boston either, Randy.
No. Every team can be beat, and that obviously they're a strong team, and there's just no weaknesses, and their goaltending has proven doesn't matter who they put in goal, and that they can get it done. But hey, that's why you play the games, and that's why fans love it. It's because there's no guarantees, and we've seen it. We've seen it on both sides.
Yeah. So I want to jump ahead a little bit. Because I do a podcast for the members every day, so I'm been doing a lot of different deeper dives into the team. My theory is that next year they're going to try to put something together like they did last year, because if you look at the 24-25 roster, we have 5 guys signed, and I'm looking at the guys that are going to need contracts, and I'm thinking there's just no way we're going to sign everybody, because the only guys that were signed for the year after next are Barkov, Tkachuk, Verhaeghe, Bennett, and Ekblad, and that's it.
And Bob.
Yeah, but in terms of skaters, we only have 5 guys signed.
And Knight.
So what the thought I have is that, how we kind of like threw everything at it last year, I kind of feel like we're going to be able to do that again next year, but then maybe the year after that, I don't know. What do you think? You think you can look at the roster, and because like, to me, like Forsling and Montour, they're gonna want more money, and we signed Mahura for another year, but I'm just looking at as I have a stink bug crawling up my laptop. I'm just looking at the future, and I'm thinking like next year needs to be like last year. Like we need to get this done sooner than later, in my opinion. Anyway.
Well, I'll be totally honest with you, Eric. I don't look that far ahead,
right?
Because things can change. And the other thing too, maybe it's a bit of a bailout or whatever. I can't worry about next year or the year after. I'll drive myself crazy.
Right.
My mental health is a priority to me. That's for them to figure out, and that I kind of stay in the moment, and
right.
Let's worry, or let's analyze when we get there. Let's worry about this year. But no, you're right. I mean, and I'm not poo-pooing your question or whatever. That's for guys that like yourself that really like a deep dive into the contracts and the salary caps and who's protected, who's going to be unrestricted. Number one is I'm too busy and to worry about that right now. I'm just trying to concentrate on this team and how I can relay it to the fans, what they're trying to do out there and what they are doing, what they aren't doing, what they should do and what they shouldn't do, and that to paint the picture of this team. So. But
all right.
And the thing is, I'll end it with this. I'll end it with that part of it. Every team is in the same boat. Every team's in the same boat. Where 2 years from now, they got 5 guys side.
Right.
For example, oh my God, what are we going to do? And oh my God, but it's a valid point. If Brandon Montour and Gus Forsling continue to play the way they play,
right?
Woo!
Exactly.
You're going to get a contract,
right?
Yeah. I mean, it's
right.
If you're that, I mean, and rightfully so. So the Panthers are benefiting right now of having those players playing at the top of their game with very reasonable contracts and that. But there's going to come a time where might not be able to afford everybody, and that's just reality. Every team goes through it.
Right. The other thing is, I mean, I how much of a difference is it? Is it Duke just making the difference, or is the team just getting it at the same time? Because it does feel like as soon as Duke with Barkov and Bennett were all on the ice together, man, it looked a lot like last year.
Yeah. That's you talk about the Nashville games and that when you're missing your 2 top centermen and one of your and you don't have a 30-goal scorer that's out of the lineup or whatever, and that I was very pleased and that when all 3 of them came back and you see what the skill level and how the different dynamic of the team looks, and then everybody gets filtered or whatever into the basically, and Paul Maurice talked about that, where everybody should be playing.
Right.
Is it too much to ask Anton Lundell to play 23 minutes in a hockey game? And oh, by the way, you're going to either be playing against Crosby or Malkin. Yeah, that's a little tough to ask, and that. Yeah. But I mean, those things have happened. Now they'll learn from it and get the experience. But it's just we see now if this Panther team stays healthy the way they are right now, except for Hornquist not in the lineup and Spencer as well, not here with the team. We can see the potential of this hockey club. It's a good hockey team, really good hockey team, and if they play the way they can and are focused on that, they're going to win a lot more games than they're going to lose down the stretch here.
And it's a good room, Rand.
Yeah. We constantly hear that these guys they like each other and that, and there's no negative cliques or anything that can hamper team morale, and that's great. That's great.
Right.
Great to see.
Just a couple short things here. You mentioned Hornquist. I have people that ask me like every day, like, because we haven't heard anything. Is there any chance of him at all being like able to be on the playoff roster like they did Kucherov, or they added him at the end? Or is that anything they're talking about, or is it just a big we don't know?
Nobody has said anything.
Right.
Nobody's told me, and that. So I don't know. That's a tough one, Eric, for me to answer. And that he's practicing every day.
Right.
He's out there skating, and that. But I know that he has suffered a couple of tough injuries and that. But I don't know what the plan is. Pre-playoffs or in the playoffs, or the only thing that we really know is he's an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year. That's the only thing we know. Right. But he's a hell of a guy. I mean, he is so good with us, and he's such a team guy, and the players love having him around. He's like an extra coach out there. And well, look at Duclair. Look at his comments. He said, "Hey, a lot of credit's got to go to Patrick Hornquist. He pushed me when we were skating together." Those last 3-4 weeks, he said he was on me and pushing me, and that shows what quality people are. And Patrick Hornquist is that. That's
outstanding. So, last question, unless Stu has something for you. Any guess on, because again, I get asked this every day.
Okay.
Any of our guys, prospect wise, that you like, or that you're hearing anything about that you think might be able to come in next year and help the squad?
I haven't really delved too much into that. I just worry about our team.
Right.
I will say this. I liked a lot of Denisenko's game. He's got skill.
Yeah.
The guy just can't get his first NHL goal. And I think Goldie and I talked about it. This guy, if he gets his first goal, he could score 7 in the next 3 games. So he was getting chances and that. So Heponiemi is a quick little player that can fill in. Are they going to be impact players? I'm not quite sure. They're still young. So let's give them a chance or whatever. They're still adapting to the North American style of the game and that. So Kierstad as well. I think they really wanted him to play the full year down in the American Hockey League and just really play and get the ice time and not, pin bing bong back and forth and that sometimes that can be a little disruptive on a player's development and that. But we'll see. We'll see. And that, there's going to be free agents, college free agents. There's going to be all kinds of different stuff going on that we'll see at the development camp and then obviously at rookie camp. It's always exciting.
Well, hopefully the next time we see you, we're doing a playoff preview.
Oh, I hope so too.
Because otherwise, especially if we finish off winning, 10 or 11 games and don't get in, let's
think it.
Yeah, I'm not even thinking about it. No, like Randy said, my mental health.
Oh, that's just it. Remember a few years ago, number of years ago, I think Jacques Martin was the coach or GM, I know he was here. Remember we lost in that tiebreaker to the Montreal Canadiens?
1 point. Yep.
Yeah.
It wasn't. We were tied with them.
We're tied. Yeah. We lost in a tiebreaker or whatever.
Yeah. Tiebreaker was what? Regulation wins?
I don't know what it was.
Goals.
It was something crazy. And then, of course,
some BS
that one really hurt. That one really, really hurt.
And
we don't have to worry about tiebreakers and all that kind of stuff with the Panthers. Guys, thanks for having me on. I love talking hockey.
All right, Randy. We really appreciate it, bud. Thanks for spending time with us.